Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 240. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving it a shot. Today's guest is the founder and owner of the Momathon movement. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure we'll all be inspired by her story. Let's chop it up with Christina Garrett. Christina, how's it going?
All is well. Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to hear that. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
The honor is mine.
Yes, ma'am. We're here to talk about all the great things you got going on with the Momathon movement. But before we talk about the company, let's get to know the woman behind the brand. Originally from Capitol Heights, Maryland. How was your upbringing in Capitol Heights?
Oh my goodness, a wonderful family foundation with lots of love. We grew up at church, and I think I just grabbed those reins and ran full steam ahead with all the many life lessons that my parents taught me over that time. So I am a pastor's daughter, ended up marrying a pastor too. So yeah, I think it's been a wonderful journey thus far.
Okay, awesome stuff. That's good. Sounds like you had like you were saying, a great family around you, a great village around you growing up in Capitol Heights.
Yes, absolutely. We did.
Yes, ma'am. And that's what it takes. I know it's an age-old adage, but it'll hold true to the end of time. It takes a village.
Yes, it does. And I always was grateful for mine. But I think even some places where my parents were working to fill those spaces, they made sure that we were active in community organizations and at school and in ministry to fill those gaps in too.
Yes, ma'am, and that's what it takes. I mean, just to keep kids occupied and, like you said, just had you all involved in just those positive environments. So you didn't have a lot of idle time to get into any trouble. So that's great that your parents brought you up in that type of that structured and disciplined environment. That's amazing.
Yes, yes. I'm grateful.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So grow up, do all your schooling in the DMV, and then you make your way down to Tuskegee, Alabama, to attend and graduate from Tuskegee University. So
Yes.
I gotta ask you, Christina, what culture shock did you experience once you made it down to Alabama from the DMV?
Oh my goodness. So I had already heard on the street, this is no offense to my Alabama family. I love y'all. I've been here ever since, my freshman year of college, but it was a culture shock for multiple reasons. The first reason was the rural, the rural approach. Like we were told that there isn't much in the city other than the university itself. So I was kind of adapted to knowing that that was the case. But I think the southern hospitality caught me off guard. Like in Maryland, you don't smile and greet each other just walking down the street, and it's just not something that we do. If you're smiling, it's like you want to throw hands. Like, why are you looking at me? Why? I had to learn to tone that down, coming down south. And so I think also the pace here is much slower, even though, I know we're talking about Montgomery as well. But even though our city has a little bit more of a pace pickup, in DC, it was like, I was taking the subway home at 11 p.m. from work. I went to school in a different county. And so, some of those added elements that everything's moving so quickly and, you kind of get a open tether, growing up as a teenager in the city like DC or New York. And so you're taking the subway at 15 to go to another, another county, another part of the state, And so then down here, I always laugh at how my kids are as they're teenagers, and I'm skeptical about them riding their bikes up the street. So, they always laugh and say, Mom, you used to take the subway at midnight to another. I know I did, but you're not me. So now we got to get used to that.
Right. Yes, ma'am. And that makes perfect sense. And I know exactly. I definitely don't take any offense. Hey, I'm born and raised in Montgomery, Alabama. I know exactly what you're saying. Things are a lot slower down here. I've been to the DMV, and to your point, people don't speak, and I learned
No,
that.
we do not.
I learned it the hard way the first time I went to DC back in 2010. You just walk in the streets and you just so accustomed saying good morning or good evening, and people just looking at me
Hmm.
like, man, what you got going on, man? So I
Yeah. Why are you
definitely.
looking at me?
Yes, ma'am. So I definitely can attest to that being a culture shock, the Southern hospitality and coming down here and it being a lot slower pace. So, and I mean, that's just great that you were able to come down here from DMV, Alabama, and get adapted. And like you said, you've been here ever since.
Yes, yes.
So overall, I got to ask you, how was the HBCU experience for you?
Oh, one of a kind. One of a kind. I don't think every school I applied to was an HBCU, but I wanted to go to Tuskegee because of their animal science program. Regardless of what I do currently now, I had every plan to be a veterinarian or get my master's in something animal science and reproduction focused. And so I came down to Tuskegee because they had one of the best animal science programs out there, bar none. So that was my initial trajectory. And I got down here, joined the choir, and just really immersed myself in the beautiful life of, living on your own. My oldest son, he's graduating this year and going to Tuskegee too. And I told him, I said, I'm going to miss you, but oh, the fun you'll have, just coming and going as you please. And, I just love to soak that in. And so, of course, the culture of going to a historically Black university, one that has a culture all its own and such rich history, really has, impacted my life in so many ways. And I've met my best friends while I was there. I've enriched my gifts while I was there. And I met my husband while I was there too.
Okay, sounds good. So the move from DMV down to Alabama sounds like it was all worth it.
Yes, it was definitely worth it.
Yes, ma'am. That's amazing. The HBCU experience, I definitely agree with you. It's a beautiful experience. You get a chance to meet just Black excellence from all over the world, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, the South,
Mhm.
overseas, and you all just everybody just come together on one campus and just create these lifelong memories and friendships. It's nothing like the HBCU experience, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Good stuff. So once you finished up at Tuskegee, got your degree and all that good stuff, what was the next step after you finished?
So hilariously, I got married while I was still in school.
Okay.
My husband was a youth minister at the time. So we were, going to church together. Once we got married, maybe a year after, still in school, my senior year, I got pregnant. Excuse me. And then I graduated with a 3-month-old baby boy in my hands. So we kind of fast forwarded. This is still our early 20s, like 21, 22. And so at that time, his name was mentioned for a church here in Prattville, which is right up the road. And so we were traveling from Tuskegee to Prattville multiple times a week so he could serve as a leading pastor there. I think I went to work in my field for about a year or so. I'm in an equestrian center locally. And then not long after, maybe 8 months in or so, I ended up expecting again, but this time it was a set of twins. And, I wish I could say that back then the childcare scene was more sustainable, but for us, three children, two and under, was not the life that we had planned. It kind of threw, kind of everything up in the air. We were trying to figure out how to balance all of the moving pieces. And so I ended up coming home for a while and just being home with my kids. We started our homeschooling journey then, but really it was a switch of what I had planned, what I thought was going to happen. All of a sudden, it was like, here's what's in front of you on this table, and now you need to deal with what is it that you need in order to survive, in order to thrive as this small family. We were kind of cool with one kid, but then all of a sudden we were like 25 with three toddlers and a minivan. It was a complete upheaval of what we thought was going to happen,
Right.
So we spent that time learning each other, growing our relationship, making that stronger, and then also just really shifting what we plan to do and just grow that way. So I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids for several years, and Momathon came from those life lessons, a shift of identity, and that growth experience.
Okay, sounds good. And I mean, I thank you for just breaking down that entire story. And just like you said, you all had three small children and early 20s, and you were working in your field for a while there, for a little while there, and then you had to make the pivot. And I mean, just being aware that you needed to make a pivot is one thing, but actually being willing to make the pivot, just want to commend you for that because it's not easy to actually be obedient, especially when it's not something you plan. Because we had these
Hmm.
plans. Because our plans
Yes,
are always this, that, and the third, and God's plan
yes,
is way grander than ours. And sometimes, Christina, we can be hard headed. So I got to commend
yeah.
you for stepping into this gift and launching the Momathon movement.
Well, say I think there were definitely parts of it though where God grabbed me and dragged me kicking and screaming. I think you know, even the idea of homeschooling our kids, I didn't want to.
Right.
I was really, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm Mary Poppins, but with a fro hawk, or I just love children so much. Now all I want to do 24/7 be with my kids. So I always try to be very honest about that when people hear about, we have five children now, ages 8 to 18, and there's a picture of, oh, if you homeschool your kids, you have this structure in place, you just love, 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 this particular life and you want to be around your kids 24/7. And so I always try to normalize for parents in general, because my husband works in fatherhood too. He works in parenting and parent engagement. I always try to normalize for everyone that it's okay to feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, exhausted. And now it's up to us after the fact to organize our lives and figure out the better way to do things. But I had feelings of like a panic. Like I struggled with breathing, thinking about if I homeschool my kids, I'll never be alone again. I will always have a child with me forever, as if kids don't grow up, right? But in the moment, that was how I felt.
Right.
So, but the more God laid it on my heart, the more I realized that there was work that I needed to do as a woman, as a wife, as a mom, so that I could accommodate the life I had been handled. And I just think, sometimes the Lord thrusts it to you so he can do something with it, but it doesn't mean that the pivot is easy. So thank you for recognizing that. And then also to everybody else who's looking at the table in front of them and saying, this isn't what I expected. Just know that God is a master of redeeming the time.
Yes, ma'am, and it's so powerful, and I appreciate your transparency and everything you just said. And that's exactly how it goes as it relates to making pivots. Like you said, it's not easy. I mean, change is not easy. We as human beings, we hate change. We like our familiarity.
Yes.
We love routines. We love what we love. And if there's any type of deviation, we go to kicking and screaming, like you just said. And sometimes
Hmm.
God drag us along while we kicking and screaming, saying, I feel overwhelmed, this, that. But like you also just said, it's okay to feel overwhelmed. And honestly,
Yes.
it's quite natural to be overwhelmed when you're
Yes.
embarking on something new. I mean, it's quite natural.
Yes.
It's one of those things where, I guess it's the social media. I guess it's one of those things where people are tricked into believing that everything is going to be just hunky-dory and just sunshine and rainbows. Nah, when you're embarking on something new, it's tough because you start to question, am I doing the right thing? Is this what I should be doing? So everything you said is spot on. Thank you for your transparency.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. The Momathon movement. So let's talk about it. I'm big into brand names and the origins of it. So what's the inspiration behind your company name?
Well, I am a runner. I've exchanged different seasons, but I started when my oldest son, who is 18, was a baby. And the drive behind it was I was looking for a goal that was uniquely mine. I think a lot of times we have family-centered goals, right? Or things that are it's good for the business or it's good for my nonprofit or all those things. But sometimes you need a goal that's just yours. And so running became that for me. And when my toddlers were, several years back, I remember going for a run to clear my mind and get my sanity back because my sanity was outside. And I remember God speaking to me during that time and saying, I want you to start this thing, like, and I want you to call it Momathon, like the marathon of running your race well as a woman, as a wife, as a mother. And I said, God, I can't help anybody do this. I'm barely holding on myself. I'm outside right now, God, so I can breathe. How am I supposed to help somebody else find their way? But that was when this was over a decade ago, and the woman that I was then needed to start right where she was. So, Mamathon has transformed a lot over the years. At one point, it was a community for any mom who just wanted to feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. And we just wanted her to know that if you're looking for people to come and sit with, you can come and sit with us. And over the years, as I have planned events and coached a lot of really brilliant sisters, I started to see some very interesting commonalities with women who lead well. whether it is that overwhelm, right, that we talked about, or having so many ideas, you don't know which one to work on first, or, feeling like I'm caught in between the tug of war of what my family needs and what my home needs and what I need and what my business needs or the work that I do, what that needs. And so over the years, I have developed more into the areas of productivity coaching, community building, corporate consulting for productivity, well being, time management, how to lead well without burnout. Those have come about over the years. But when I started, I just wanted to say, if you're looking for some place to come and just breathe, you can come and do that here. And so, now Momathon is I've been honored to coach councilwomen and attorneys and doctors and educators and women who are starting schools and coaches and speakers and facilitators and nonprofit founders and all of these wonderful things over the last several years. But it really did start with a very simple call to action. Let us help you run your race better.
And that's so powerful. The name, how it came about, you being a runner, the Momathon, definitely love to play on the marathon wordplay. And I mean, just hearing you talk about when you initially had the idea when God spoke to you and not feeling qualified, and God told you
Hmm.
you are already qualified. Like you're going to be able to speak to these women that you're coaching because you're going through it right now, and that's just so great. I mean, it's just so amazing how those things come about, and nothing makes sense in the moment when we're going through it. It's like, hold on now, like I know you ain't telling me that this what I should be doing, but once you actually be silent, be obedient, and take the first step, things tend to work out.
Absolutely true. And I'll say, interestingly, there are a lot of great business milestones that I've reached, but I really did have to learn how to do things differently. Like we are innately qualified because God says we are, right? Like you're
Right.
valuable, you're enough, you're my child, you are loved, right? Like you are valuable as you are, no bars. But I think that's where we get to go the next step and say, okay, but how do I uh intentionally focus in on the growth that I want to experience in certain areas? So, for example, I have been very honored. I consider it an honor and a blessing, not any entitlement. I've contributed to Essence Magazine 7 times, right? In print, on the blog, filming, but I pitched for that a lot of times and had crickets. Right, Doug? I had crickets. Why am I sending the emails and getting nothing back? And then I had to go and learn. I went to intentionally learn how to pitch better, how to ask for certain media representation or, to contribute to a story. How do I do that better? And so innately, yes, we are valuable and you have so much to offer to the world. And then once you know what you want to offer, once you're more zeroed in, now it's your job as a leader, as a founder, as a facilitator to sharpen your axe and to say, you know what, here's an area where I don't have a full grounding yet, or here's an area where I need to advance my skill set, and that's okay. So both things merged together are true. We are valuable, and also we should all be intentionally looking for growth opportunities.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And I mean, everything you just said about just the entire publications with Essence. Congratulations, by the way. You said seven
Thank
times.
you. Thank you. Yes,
That's
it's
amazing.
it's a highlight for me, you
That's
know.
it's amazing. That's amazing. And I like how you said, you speaking from a place of gratitude. And I mean,
Hmm.
yes, ma'am. And even that part you said about when you were sending in emails and you weren't getting the response that you desired, you didn't look at Essence and say, "Oh, they hating on me. Oh, they just don't want this. They
They
just
don't
don't
even
want."
know I exist, Doug. I
Exactly,
had to do
exactly.
better.
Exactly. They don't want to. They don't want to see a sister win. They hating on me. But instead of you saying that, you said, "What
Yes,
can I do better? How can I pitch better to get that response that I desire?" So just the willingness to be able to identify that and do something about it. Because it would have been easy to say,
yes,
"Woe is me. Essence hating on me. They hating. They trying to keep me down." But hats off to you for having the awareness and the willingness to do something about it.
yes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So I know you were saying the Momathon movement started off as community and you've evolved it into coaching and wellness and consulting and I mean publications in essence. And I see you have a TEDx talk. Congratulations on that. So
Thank you, sir.
yes, ma'am. You've taken the Momathon movement and you've made some movement for real.
Mm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, seriously, like I did some due diligence. I mean, because I just wanted I wanted to really familiarize myself with yourself and the brand. So that's great that you've been able to take this idea. It looks like you launched this in 2011.
Yes, yes, 2011. And it seems weird now to think because I guess my twins were one when I really started moving forward. And I can remember pitching for an Under Armour opportunity. They had like a sports slash, what's beautiful about you thing. And I saw the old video of me trying to do the pitch in my bathroom because I was the only quiet place in my house. And three toddlers, there was no soundproof anything. It was like, yes, I'm sending you this video from my bathroom because I'm a mom with three small children, and this is just me showing up for it. So wherever people are, it's okay to start where you are, and then you get to know like it will get better, you will get stronger, and you will learn more.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And that's so spot on, starting where you are. And I think I've been a victim of it before as it relates to waiting for the perfect conditions,
Mhm.
the fact of the matter is there's no such thing as the perfect day. And there's no such thing as the perfect anything because we'll say stuff like this. We'll say, hey, so when I save up enough money to get a camera, I'll start recording. You save up the money and then you do something else with the money, or you start to get cold feet. And it's just one of them things where, like you
Yes.
said, you got in your bathroom, hit record. Hey, I'm in the bathroom. I'm a mom. I'm sending my pitch anyway because hey, that's just what I do. I'm starving what I have. It ain't glitz and glamour, but I'm putting myself out there. And that's all you got to do sometimes. Just put yourself out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to believe like there's something really good waiting for you when you get started. There's so many people that never do, or so many people that forget they control how many opportunities come to them. And that's something I have to remind my clients of all the time. The more you show up in an electric, amazing way because you love your work and you love the people you serve, it's going to automatically bring people in to the idea you're building or the movement you want to build. But we all have some imposter syndrome to get over. We all have some procrastination and perfectionism that we have to climb over. And for every new phase of life and business growth, there will be a different, version of that for us to overcome. So we just know that life is a process, and the journey is what makes us great leaders.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And everything you just said is just spot on. Just the process, enjoying the process, and just being willing to go through the ebbs and flows. And I mean, that's how you become great. I mean, you start off terrible, and you keep working at it, and you get better. You get better and
Yeah.
better. I mean, and that's just how it goes. And it starts when it starts when we're children. Like when we come into the world, we don't know how to walk, we can't talk, we can't feed ourselves,
Hmm.
but we figure it out, and then somewhere along the lines when we become adults, we forget there was a point in time where I couldn't even talk, but I figured it out. So anything in front of you, you can figure it out. That's the point I'm making. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's interesting to remember like you really can't figure out anything, but if you're willing to sit in it long enough. Like I think
Hmm.
in the current and I this will be an interesting kind of asterisk or notation is
Right.
like our focus and is I tell my kids your focus needs focus. Like
Hmm.
most of us innately I also think it's a post-pandemic symptom of like us having to make it through the COVID times
Hmm.
is where our areas of focus, like how we lean in and stay in something, went away because our brains were rewired during that time. So not everybody, some of my clients have been diagnosed with ADHD, right? They actually have gone through the process. They have me as a coach, they have a therapist, they have all the things. So they
Right.
actually have gone through that process. And a lot of the rest of us just feel like we have it, whether we do or not. So, it's the feeling though of I'm not focusing like I used to, so my brain gets an itch that I need to go and do something different that I'm more comfortable with or feels easier. But when we learn how to sit in a discomfort or sit in learning how to do something different until we get it and it clicks, that is a game changer. It really does change our future and our trajectory.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Focus on your focus and just being willing to set in it. I mean, that was spot on. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, ma'am. So I know, like I said, like you were telling me earlier, where it started and just everything that you've expanded with the company itself. So I got to ask you about the Momathon conference. So I've done some due diligence on it, and I see you started it in 2016, and it's still ongoing. So what was the inspiration behind starting that conference?
Well, the first year that I did it, I just wanted to create a space where moms could come out and hang out. It wasn't, I don't think back then conferences were popping like they are now. Like we look around and there's all the boss brunches and all we just
Right.
had those all the time. Back then, I don't recall ever really being able to find something for moms to go to. And so I created it. I think I know when it first happened, it was at a small little conference room and the chicken was dry and the cookies were crumbly. And, it was definitely, I think I had a $500 budget that year. It was something wild. But when it was over, that was the moment that hooked me because everyone who came in without someone all of a sudden had an ocean of new friends who were all aligned, who love God and love their families. And I just want to figure life out. And is it okay if we figure life out together at the same time? And so it was this beautiful transformational time where everyone was still hanging out in the conference room hours after it was over. And that was the moment that I knew that something beautiful was growing. And so we continue to host every year. I will do it again this year. Every year I become a different person who puts it on. We started with a, hey, mom, you can come sit with us. And now our focus is amplifying your implementation, overcoming challenges with analysis paralysis and overthinking. We talk about mental and maternal health, education, advocacy. We focus in on how to create more impactful, powerful partnerships so that you can grow your work more sustainably. And so, over the last 10 years, it has really transitioned to where the focus is for women who are leading in their work, whether they're an entrepreneur, whether they are a nonprofit founder or founding a community, whether they work in politics or in the legal or medical field or mental health, all of these different places, all these women come in and we're a little churchy, we're a little turned up. It's the best of both worlds. It is not a church conference, it is, and
Right.
mostly because I'm a pastor's wife, they assume that we're like women evolve. We're not. We focus on multiple facets of the lives of women who balance well with their families, are caregivers, so that we can grow the work, the ideas that we have without burning out and losing our steam.
That's so awesome and so powerful just hearing just the evolution of the conference and how you were saying how it started off with just more or less a safe haven for moms to come and be in the same room, like you said, with people with a lot of similarities and just being able to align and build together and just knowing that they weren't alone. And I mean, that's the power of community, just getting in the room with like-minded people. Because
Mhm.
sometimes in life, you can feel like you're all alone. You like, dang, like I'm the only person that's out here doing this. But that's the importance of getting in the room and getting to a conference like yours for moms or any other conference that may be tailored to your uh, demographic or what you're looking for. So I appreciate you for sharing that, and I mean it's just so great that you had that idea, you started it, and you've continued to put that same conference on every year. And like you were saying, you're not the same woman this year as you was last year. So not only is the conference evolving, you're evolving, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I think I've definitely had years where the resolve to host it kicked my butt, right?
Right.
And I had to adapt and learn if you're going to continue to do this. And maybe whoever's listening, you have a different this than I do. It may be a project or maybe a community initiative or it could be a myriad of things. But when you had that resolve that you're going to stick in it, now you have to do the work to figure out how to do it better. And so I took extensive work to learn more about sponsorships and partnerships and how to integrate, those moving pieces so that when people come, they feel seen and they feel like this is the place where I need to be. And here's the person that I've had people come and say, the person I've been trying to meet with for a year is in front of me on your partnership panel. And I'm like,
Wow.
really? Like, yes. And then they go hi, can I take you to lunch? Or can I, I'd like to connect with you. And just because they were there, that can't be a Christina thing. That has to be God. Like, there's no way I would know that the person over here needed the person over there. And I did that on purpose. That's not something that I could do. And so I just believe when we say yes as leaders to create space for great things to happen, there's something that's undercover that God is doing that we don't always get to know ahead of time. But every year it continues to happen again and again. So I continue to ask for his grace to help me say yes, and then to move forward with the initiatives that we had planned.
Yes, ma'am, and that's awesome. Everything you were just saying, I'm just keeping God first and just like you said, ask for His grace and just continuing to keep God ahead of your life and all your decisions and all your endeavors. And I mean, I think if that's the mindset, you can't lose.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, ma'am. So that's just so amazing. Just know the conference growing and you growing as a leader, person, and you growing this brand. So I got to ask you, as it relates to vision, what are some of your short term and long term goals for the company you feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. Short-term goals is to host year 11 of the Momathon conference and it to be fully sponsored. Usually we have in between, tickets, and we usually host about 125 to 150 women. And so I'm looking forward to moving towards 200 this year. That is a goal of mine. And then for this year, really just to serve more brilliant sisters who are called to change the world and feel like they want to have more capacity and more energy. That is a short-term goal. My oldest son is graduating, like I shared. So I'm sending my first homeschooler out into the world. I intentionally asked myself, how do I want to experience his last year at home? Like, what kind of mom do I want to be during this time? And so I am grateful to be able to be that mom right now and just slow down a little bit and breathe and just enjoy the transition that my family is going through. And then I think before the end of this year, I have a couple media opportunities that I have in the back of my mind that I would love to. Essence Festival's on that list. Jennifer Hudson show is on that list. Maybe Tamara Hall is too, but those first two I've been waiting on for a little while. So I owe them a couple follow-up pitches really soon, just to see about creating some mom magic together. So those are short-term goals. Long-term, I want to expand Momathon to the nonprofit sector so that I can create a more inclusive coaching consulting community where we kind of are creating community programs here in the state for women who are leaders, or women who want to be leaders, but maybe they're in the startup phase of their business. So creating cohorts that support women, especially mothers who are trying to find their place. The right coaching helped me probably 8 to 10x my income just because I stayed in that mindset of I can do anything, I am enough, go take action. Like I stayed in that. And so I want to be able to provide that for sisters as well to come in and have granted opportunities to get access to that elevated thinking. So that's the long term trajectory from Mamathon is to of course, keep our for-profit side, but really look at what it means to create community initiatives for my state as well.
Great goals, both short term and long term. And just in this conversation with you, I have no doubt you'll put in the work and make them all come to fruition.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. So I got to ask you a rather tough question, and it's going to be like
Okay.
asking you, yes, ma'am. I mean, but it's on par with the conversation, and it's going to be
Okay.
like me asking you, who's your favorite child out of the five? So,
Okay.
out of everything, and you've accomplished a lot of great things, Christina, in your 15 years of business. So, what's your proudest accomplishment since you started the Momathon movement?
Hands down, Essence Magazine.
Nice.
Hands down. I can I tell you this is gonna sound bad,
Go
okay?
for it.
But
Go for it.
I want y'all to hear my heart. I want you to hear my heart. I was so excited and very honored to do the TEDx talk, right? Like it was amazing. It was fun for me because I speak all the time. It was a challenge because you have to memorize your speech, right? So you can't just get up there and wing it, impromptu style speaking. So it took effort from me on that But to date, I think because I felt like I had to master how to do my outreach better and pitching better, combined with divine opportunity, hands down, sending the email about Essence and then getting a response back was like Christmas Day. It was the best. I mean, it was the best day of my professional career. And then not long after, they were doing a filming on parenting in the pandemic. And so I got to participate in that, and just getting the emails with the logo there was very surreal. And then not long after, they I get another email that says, "Hey, we're doing something on back to school, and we want a productivity coach to chime in on how parents cannot be overwhelmed." I'm on the floor at this point. I'm like, my life has been made. I can retire now. Like, this is the best thing ever. And then since that time, I've been, able to do purposeful parenting. I've had a conversation about moms and intimacy, right? Like, are we prioritizing connection with our husbands? A myriad of different conversations and topics I've been honored to lend my voice to. So while TEDx is like sunshine, let me tell you, I think for Black women, it's like getting Essence means mama, I made it. Everybody has their own personal mama, I made it moment, but
Right.
that one is definitely mine.
Right, and that's so amazing. And I mean, no, that don't sound bad at all. That sounds exciting. Hey, you got your mama I made it moment, and like you said,
Yes.
that looks different for everyone. And I mean, that is a huge accomplishment. I mean, seven times in essence, and congratulations again. And I mean,
Thank
every
you.
yes, ma'am, absolutely. No, that's amazing that that's your proudest accomplishment, and that's something to definitely be proud of. And I mean, just so if somebody told Christina who moved down from the DMV to Alabama to attend Tuskegee University. If somebody told you back then that your life would look the way it looks now, would you have believed them back then?
No, I know. I think I planned for maybe two kids.
Right.
I definitely didn't plan for a two for one special.
Gotcha.
And I definitely didn't think I would go beyond three children. My house is always loud. So we have five kids, and then my son's girlfriend who's here every day. That's six. And so, but I think this is always the parent I wanted to be. Like, I always wanted to be able to intentionally slow down when I needed to, pick up the pace when I needed to, and just enjoy my family. So I always knew I wanted this life, but maybe it didn't look this way. But I'm so grateful that it does.
Yes, ma'am. Powerful stuff. Gratitude, the power of gratitude is nothing like it.
Yes, indeed.
So you have a lot on your plate, Christina. You're a wife, mom, entrepreneur, doing a lot of great things. So I got to ask you, with everything on your plate and all the other roles, responsibilities that we may not be aware of that you're carrying, and all the great things you got going on, what do you do to decompress and get away from it all?
I go to bed early, which I know that's not like a get away from it all, but the best me that serves and has high capacity is very rested. Like, I need naps a couple times a week. I'm still running, like I'm intentionally trying to get back into my running journey. And my husband and I, we run away together every chance we get. He's my best friend. He's the chocolate Superman of our house. And so whenever we need to, we're like, hey, we should go to brunch. You can leave your kids at home now. We should go to brunch, or we should go to coffee. Let's go to the movies. And we just hop in the car and drive away. And everywhere I go with him, even if it's just Publix, is time away that is well spent. So just spending time with him and getting outside whenever I can, buying plants and drinking coffee is beautiful. And I'm grateful I don't have too much of a life I got to run away from, but I absolutely 1000% create a lot of quiet space in my life.
Yes, ma'am, and that's powerful. And I mean, all of those are great things. Just like you said, getting your naps, being well rested, spending quality time with the mister, just getting
Yes.
outside, going to brunch, leaving the kids at the house, and just spending some quality time. Those are all great outlets because I mean, let's face it, we need a break from the hustle and bustle because otherwise, if we're
Yes.
always grinding, if we're always trying to do the next thing instead of getting some rest, we'll burn out.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a big believer in mastering time management, increasing your capacity. Most of us, where we started is not where we are now, because what used to feel really heavy doesn't feel as heavy anymore. So you start creating new goals in order to increase your capacity. So I'm a big believer in those resolves.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So as we wrap up the podcast, I want to ask a million dollar question. I started this
Okay.
podcast because I wanted to highlight entrepreneurs with roots to Montgomery, the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery, whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, be it college, military, or work. You made your way down to Tuskegee, right up the street from Montgomery for college. Now you're operating in
Yes.
business in Montgomery. So I got to ask you,
Yes.
Christina, what do you appreciate the most about the city of Montgomery?
Montgomery is a well-known city, but it's also a hidden gem. And I say this because people say there's nothing to do here. And I always argue back and I say there are things to do, you just have to find it, or you have to know somebody who's who's posting about it online or something. So it's not always, plain as day, but I love the beauty of the city. I love that I can, unfortunately, unlike Tuskegee, you have to drive 30 minutes to get to Fresh Market, all those things, So I just love how food and culture and being outside feels beautiful here. I meet the most delightful people who are also so aligned and so focused and very family forward. And I also appreciate how they have a lot of great homeschool resources for my family as well. So those different components really bring the city to life for me. I enjoy living here.
Yes, ma'am. Powerful stuff. So, Christina, how can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles and website?
Absolutely. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My personal Facebook page is Christina Garrett. And then also a business page and Instagram at the Momathon Diaries, not Movement Diaries, where I just tell all about my life. And then you also can check me out at the momathonmovement.com, where if you have any inquiries or need any support, you can fill out some information there. And I would be so honored to connect.
Yes, ma'am. Too easy. And of course, I'll put all of that information in the description of the episode. Christina, thanks again for a few minutes of your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Doug. The honor is mine.
Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumtown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go.